Welcome to the Knife Junkie podcast, your weekly dose of knife news and information about knives and knife collecting. Here's your host, Bob the Knife Junkie DeMarco.
Welcome to the Knife Junkie podcast. I'm Bob DeMarco. On this edition of the show, I'm speaking with Eddie of OEG EDC. I was introduced to him by Aaron Bieber at Blade Show a few weeks back. Knowing my tastes, Aaron told me I had to check out Eddie's beautiful EDC fixed blades and folders. But when I got there, I discovered that OEG EDC offers a lot more than just blades. And they had one of the most unique and oddly comforting Blade Show booths I've ever experienced. I checked out his knives and other wares and chewed the fat with Eddie for a few minutes. And since then, I've been looking forward to finding out more about his EDC gear company and what makes it tick. We'll meet Eddie and learn all about the one-eyed ghost, but first be sure to like, comment, subscribe, and hit the notification bell. Of course, you can download the show to your favorite podcast app. That way, you can listen on the go. Also, if you'd like to help support the show, share it with a like-minded friend, or go on over to Patreon and see what we have to offer you there. You can scan the QR code on your screen or go to TheKnifeJunkie.com/Patreon. Again, that's TheKnifeJunkie.com/Patreon.
Do you use terms like handle to blade ratio, walk and talk, hair pop and sharp, or tank like? Then you are a dork and a knife junkie.
Eddie, welcome to the Knife Junkie podcast, sir. Great to see you again.
That was an amazing intro. I feel way more special than I am, so thank you.
Well, my pleasure. And I really dug especially your fixed blade EDC. I think it's called the Marion. We'll talk about that. You're like, maybe not. I'm not sure if I got the right.
It's okay. That model was retired, so we can talk about it, but let's not live in the past.
Okay, no, let's not. We'll talk about that. But man, I gotta say, first up, your Blade Show booth was awesome. First of all, how was Blade Show? And tell me about your idea for that booth.
Blade Show was great. So this is my third year of doing Blade Show, and it was my first in. I know it's not the big room. What do they call it technically?
I don't know, the main room or
The main room. It was my second time having a booth. Let's just say that, and it was great. I loved it. I had a blast as usual. It was great being down from Aaron and the gang, and across from our mutual friend Ben, Jack Wolf, and I was next to my buddy Tom of Notorious, and then Vera was on the other side, which was awesome. But yeah, it was good. And as far as the booth, I felt like I blended in too much last year. It was my first year having a booth, and every booth was a black backdrop with white lettering, red lettering, this lettering, and being a relatively new maker, I've been in this. I started this in 2021, and I've only been making knives now for 3 years. So I kind of wanted to have some have fun and do a theme. So I'm starting these ADHD side quests now, where every year is going to be a different theme. So this year was your classic East Coast pizza shop, which is what you mentioned earlier.
Yeah, oddly comforting. I've spent a lot of time in East Coast pizza shops, and I walked up and you had that sort of board with the letters that you stick in it, and it looks like a menu that's been up for 1,000 years, coated with grease and all. It was great.
It definitely was. When I bought it, the ham sandwich I think was like $1.85 for a ham sandwich. And as a fellow, you're from the East Coast. I mean, you're right in Virginia, right? And you understand ham sandwiches have not been $1.85 in this area in a very long time. So it was sitting. So it was a really good marketplace find, obviously.
So you just mentioned you've only been making knives for 3 years, which to me is surprising. I mean, I know that you haven't been around for too long in this incarnation as OEG EDC.
No.
Your knives don't seem like the knives of a beginner. What were you doing before you ventured into the knives? You were making other EDC products, right?
Oh yeah, when I first started doing the EDC, before knives, I started doing like EDC, like my bottle openers. So like I had like the Keystone here, which was in the Charlie's collar colorway based off my Pitbull Charlie's collar, and the pry bar, the Gilbert pry bar, and that basically got my feet wet because it just started as kind of like a little hobby, like rolling out of the pandemic. I was doing a lot of work at my other job. I was working at a place called Titanium Finishing Company, doing Cerakote and titanium anodizing. And I was doing a lot of stuff for different makers, one of them being Casey Lynch. So I was doing a lot of his Cerakote work. And just started meeting different makers and talking to them. Like, oh, these guys are like really cool, and this is a cool industry. I'm like, I think I want to make something on my own as like a little creative outlet. And now we're an LLC and paying taxes and doing fun stuff.
Paying taxes. Well, wait. So you're working in a company that you were working in a company that was doing anodizing just for titanium and just for this kind of EDC stuff, or was it a
I
broader?
know. So it's actually my wife's family's company. She works there as well, and it's titanium. It's mainly like medical and government work, basically.
Oh, okay.
So like if you have medical implants, most likely they anodize the screws that are in your body. So I got to that job. Before that, I was a tattoo artist. So I was tattooing for like 7 or 8 years, and then needed a change. Went there. From there, came to here. So I don't know what I'm gonna do. Bull riding next. I don't know, something different.
Well, wait. Okay, so tattooing. I mentioned before we started rolling, we talked to a lot of people who have come from the tattoo world. Obviously, I mean, this is okay. I went to art school, and I'm a pretty good draftsman. But the thing that always blows my mind is how someone can be a good draftsman on skin with one of those machines that is not shaped like a pencil on a squirming body. Like, so what was your past going into this? Obviously, you're an artistic guy.
Just someone that always had to make stuff, you know? I'd rather spend $500 to make something that would cost me $50 kind of guy, if that makes sense. So
Yeah.
I think that's what started this all out, and, it's not really hard to tattoo. I still have my gear. I'll let you tattoo someone one day. I'll show you.
Well, good. Okay, I'll tattoo you. Maybe that'll be the.
That's fine. I'm not scared. Let's go.
So you're working at the anodizing place, and
Yes.
so what about what you were seeing outside of the government and medical stuff? What were you seeing? You said Casey Lynch, so you're seeing some pocket knife clips and stuff like that.
I'm seeing pry bars and clips, and, like, I'm seeing Notorious EDC, I'm seeing his beer bombs. I did some stuff for Gondek EDC. It kinda introduced me into, like, the kinda like the pocket arty kind of, facet of this industry. You know how there's so many different levels to this, and yeah, it's just creative, cool stuff, and it made me want to just kind of give me a little itch to be like, I think I could do this. And I literally was talking to Casey the one day, and he's like, just go do it. I'm like, okay, and taught myself Fusion 360, modeled my first bottle opener, found someone to make it, and did all my finishing work.
So wait, you said Fusion 360. That's a CAD program, right?
Yeah, 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 yeah. CAD and CAM. Yep.
Okay, and so you learned how to basically draw in the virtual world, and then you had someone else make your. And you said the Keystone was that your first thing? The
That
Keystone.
was my very first product. Yep.
Okay, so you're from Pennsylvania, and Keystone, that's the Keystone State, right?
Just where we fall in the original 13 colonies. We're dead center, so we are the Keystone State.
Okay, I like that. I saw that, and it's kind of shaped like the symbol on the license plate, I
The,
think.
the, it's I love Pennsylvania. I love all four seasons, so it's a fun representation of the state I love.
Yeah, I do too. And I grew up in Ohio, and I used to hate Pennsylvania. I don't know. I guess I felt some sort of uh, um, competition with it or something. And then I started driving through it multiple times a year to get out to New York and other places east of there. And I fell in love with it too. Now it's one of those places that I talk to my wife about, like someday maybe we can live in Pennsylvania.
Oh, it's just great because we could go beach in a few hours, upstate Pennsylvania mountains in a few hours, Philly, New York City, DC, Richmond, Pittsburgh. Everything's a stone's throw away.
Yeah.
Plus, all four seasons included. I mean, you can't get much better unless you're in Southern California.
And there's tons of history there too, which is kind of.
Tons of history. So yeah, it's a great place. I hope to see you. Hopefully, we'll be neighbors one day.
Well, that would be cool. You can come to my giant sprawling mountain estate when I have it. But I like the idea of pocket art. You just used the term pocket arty. So that the idea of collecting things that, a lot of tattoo havers, owners, whatever you want to call it, are collectors.
Yes.
They have collections of art on their body, but a lot of people in this realm love to collect pocket stuff. Knives is where I land most soundly, but I have a few things here and there, other kind of doodads that I like. What is it about the pocket art thing that originally drew you in and kind of got you fully immersed in this world?
I just think it was the ability to customize it. And like I said, we're all just kind of little hoarders. So it's just like fun little trinkets. And there's always that dopamine hit of buying a new, EDC tool, pry bar, bottle opener, whatever it is, worry stones. Like there's just so many. The price point is usually in the 50 to 150 range for these said items. So it was really fun. And I don't know, it just because I don't know, we're just all hoarders. We all like collecting things. It just depends on how clean your front yard is and how many knives you have.
What do you mean about your front yard?
Well, hoarding cars. We got some
Oh,
hoarders in Pennsylvania. We
yeah.
when you come up, I'll take you around. I'll show you.
All right. So, so you started with a pocket bottle opener, but that's also a knuck, right? I mean, that's also something that you could clean someone's clock with, right?
I mean, what you do with it is up to you. I make a bottle opener. So what you do with it once you purchase it, that's totally on you. But all I'm selling is a lovely keychain bottle opener.
Okay. Well, coming from my perspective, I feel like everything is kind of a weapon, um, because that's the lens through which I see things.
Yeah.
Pens,
Yeah.
and that kind of thing. I love the idea of knucks. I have like two or three. I don't have a sprawling collection of them, but I like this idea. I also like full on, brass knuckles. I have a good budding collection of that kind of thing. And I know we're talking about different items here.
Yeah.
Brass knuckles are for weighting down your papers.
I was gonna say
And
they're belt buckles. You mean belt buckles? If you go to the flea markets around here, you have to see the belt buckles.
yeah, exactly.
So yes, anything could be a weapon. Some of us collect different things and just use them different ways.
Well,
Would be the truth to say it.
was that ever a part of your fascination in starting with the Nux? Well, let's just say the multi-use factor.
Um, yes and no. It's just more like the kind of trinkety artness that I like about it because I don't like to think of these things as actual weapons. Could it be used some way? Yeah, it could be, but to me, it's just a work of art. It's a little piece of me that I made and kind of share with the world. Not to seem too artsy right there. That did sound horrible.
Oh gosh, you're so artsy. But okay, so also pry bars. Then you move into pry bars.
Yes.
Tell me a little bit about that. And let me preface this by saying I know I'm a little chatty tonight, but I have a couple of pry bars, and they're things that I never use, but I like having, and I attach little tassels to them, and every once in a while I might find a reason for them. But I'm kind of fascinated with the pry bar thing. What drew you into that?
Um, I didn't want to make a pry bar because Casey obviously makes the best pry bar. Like
Oh,
Casey Lynch has a hand on the market. I designed mine because my wife and I liked well, we still do. We just haven't hit in a while. We like doing scratchers.
mhm.
So she was having neck issues and her hand was numb. So we used to use nickels and she couldn't use a nickel anymore. So I designed a pry bar that had a little divot in it. I wish I was more prepared. I have every other product except for a pry bar in front of me. Um, but there's a little divot in it right behind the actual pry and bottle opener part. So you can lock your thumb into it and kind of scratch a lottery ticket like this. So hence I named it the Good Luck Pry Bar because it's for scratching lottery tickets.
So are you saying that because of her nerve issues, she couldn't grasp a nickel
Yeah,
to?
her hands were numb, so she couldn't feel it. So that's why I came up with a pry bar that's actually a scratcher, but it's still a pry bar.
That's cool.
And yes, it could be a weapon if you used it correctly.
I wasn't even going to go there with the pry bar.
I
Like,
think I beat you to it, Bob. I'm like, yes, Bob, you can use it as a weapon.
but could you use this as a?
Yeah, yeah.
No, I like pry bars mostly as canvases for beautiful anodization and different pictorial kind of things. And then looking at your Instagram, but also at your website, I see you kind of do things in batches, and the batches have themes. It seems like. Um, is that like now Jim is scrolling through your stuff and I see some of your pry bars going up there. Is that kind of accurate, would you say?
Yeah, I wish I would say this is all planned out and part of my master plan, but it's basically whatever I do. There's no real rhyme or reason to how I do anything. It's kind of like, hey, I'm gonna drop some keystones this week, and I'll do some keystones. Or I'm like, hey, I haven't done this for a while, or I'm like, hey, I feel like doing this, and that kind of just it's really organic. I just roll with it from there.
Okay, so at some point you decided I'm going to take the plunge into knives, and I'm guessing that there's a whole other world of considerations that go into moving from knucks, bottle openers, pry bars into something with a blade that has to be hardened. Up until then, everything's in titanium, right?
Yeah. Mainly, I love titanium, so mainly titanium.
Okay, so now you're moving into knives. What was it like taking the plunge into something with a blade?
Basically, I just dove in head first. I had people like Aaron and John Gray and Ed Cab, um, three local awesome makers I could kind of get help with and figure out what I needed. But I just literally dove head first into it because I just wanted to make knives then. So I kind of was in my EDC world, and that kind of then opened up the world I always carried. I had this somewhere. It's this little Gerber. I've had it since I was probably 19. I would just lose it for years on end. It would always just find its way right back to me. So it was fun to finally be like, okay, I'm gonna knives. Now this is where I want to go. I want to be a knife maker. So literally got my first grinder and kind of dove head first in. I got hooked up with a awesome dude in the Michigan area that was laser cutting blanks for me. And then he had a heat treater right down the road. So I was getting blanks sent to me from CAD designs that I did.
Mhm.
And then yeah, just started grinding. And then I bought a CNC router. So it's basically CNC with a little handheld router in it mounted to it, and I started cutting out my own G10 handles. So I then taught myself how to do CAM. So I was doing computer aided machining to make my own handles, and literally just dove in head first, not knowing what I was doing. And
So, I'm sorry.
go no, go go.
Well, I was going to ask. Okay, so you get the blanks cut out by a fella in Michigan. You send him your CAD files. He cuts them out, sends them to you. What's it like going from you have this perfectly cut out blank, but presumably you don't really quite know how to grind yet. How was that process going from not knowing how to grind to getting the beautiful bevels and edges I was seeing at Blade Show this year?
I'll show you the box if you come visit the shop of all the screw ups. That's how I got there. You know, everyone only sees like the wins, but you don't see the tons of losses and fails or like I forget, it was the one Lehigh show, and I called Aaron like 3 days before. I'm like, "Dude, I don't know how to grind knives anymore. Like, I just lost it one day." So he had to come down and he helped me with stuff. Like, there's tons of fails behind the victories you see at Blade Show. And oh man, I'm still green and I still fail daily, but it's the drive to always want to do better and reach perfection, even though I'll never be perfect. But I'm gonna try my hardest to get as close as I can.
Yeah. Do you have any blades in front of you you could show as we talk about?
Yeah. So I have my pike, which is like my small EDC fixed blade. I think this is one. This is actually one of the first ones and my personal one. It was like my first hand finish. So there's that guy. Basically, this is like my like. And if you hear something, that's Charlie the pit bull. He just wandered in here. So this is like my everyday carry kind of fixed blade, great for pouches. Space the eyelets here. That could be also a great little neck knife. Great
Uh-huh.
for pouches. Great for appendix carry. This is also one of my first tries at digital sublimation on Kydex. So
What
that's
is
basically
that? What is digital what?
digital sublimation. So that's basically melting an image onto the Kydex. So this is white Kydex with my logos all over it.
So your logo is OEG stands for
One-eyed ghost.
One-Eyed Ghost, and that's what your logo is. Oh, and we can see that on your T-shirt too. If you don't mind, pick that knife back up again. You call that the pike?
Yes, that's the pike. This is my like my small EDC fixed blade.
Okay, so now when you design this knife, was this wasn't your first design? This is right.
No, the first was the Marion, the one you mentioned earlier. That was my very first fixed blade, and I learned a lot from that. And I wasn't the happiest with that, so that's why I kind of retired that one because it was a great stepping stone to get here, but
Uh-huh.
I didn't want to continue with it.
Okay, so what were your design goals? What were you looking to achieve, and what did the Marion teach you that led you to this?
Marion taught me how to do choils wrong and right. The first batch had my logo, the little ghost face with the the crossed out eye and the open eye in the mouth, kind of like cut into the back of it, and there was like a little hollow spot. I knew there was a weak point, but I tested it a few times. It was pretty good until one of my customers was in a zip line with it on, and it got caught in a zip line harness, and it broke the little tab off. So after that, I kind of changed the design. And then once I changed the design, it didn't feel like the original anymore. So I felt like, you know what, I'm going to retire this model. I wasn't really happy with the blade shape. So there's a bunch of reasons. It's like anything else. It was learning from my failures and what I didn't really learning what I could do better through experience. There you go.
Yeah. So when you design a knife, both the Marion, which is something you can see if you look in the past, but now the
Yes.
Pike, what are you going for? What do
I'm
you
just going. I'm just going for sleek lines and just carryability, something that you're going to want to carry, something that doesn't end up in a drawer. So it's going to be a workhorse, but still have nice lines like an old muscle car.
Nice.
So and then not to cut you off. So then from the Parian became the District, which was my next full size model. Then so
Ooh,
that was something where you can get like a full four on. And then this is one because everyone would always ask me that I learned from the Marion. Everyone asked for interchangeable hair handles. So this is something where you can actually do interchangeable handles. So this comes with titanium on this one, G10, Ultim, micartas. So I kind of just picture framed it around the tang there. So you have some tang hanging all around it. And then you can bolt, there you go. You can bolt your scales on and off.
that is beautiful. Hold those up together. Unsheathe them both if you don't mind,
Oh,
and
yeah.
hold them up together so we can see. I mean, just this is just my very off the cuff impression, but the one in your left hand, yeah, seems like another step beyond in a way.
Yes.
I mean that
Yes.
seems like a pretty sophisticated design. I love the swedge. I love the jimping. I'm a jimping. I, I won't use that expression, but I'm a jimping whore, and I love the 50-50 choil, and I love the very sort of neutral handle of that. I mean, you can really seems like you can use the one in your left hand for everything. The one in the right is also beautiful, but it seems like by comparison slightly more limited.
Well, this is more concealed carry, something like that. Something that you're going to have in with you. It's just there. You know you're going to have it. It's in your backpack. It's wherever you want to have it. This is more of like, this is my knife. I'm carrying this with me. I'm taking it camping. It's going on ventures, four wheeling, stuff like that.
Right, right, because the pike is considerably smaller. So
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean,
there are certain it's like more of a three finger knife, and so
yeah,
there
it's
are certain
definitely a
considerations.
three. Definitely a three, but with the right bead, you can kind of get that purchase on the fourth end with a
Yes.
stubbier bead is how I kind of always market it if someone that does a bigger paw or wants to get all four on there.
So was when you moved to the second design, I'm sorry, I keep forgetting what it's called.
Dude, we're all over the place. District. That's okay. Okay.
The district. When you started making the district, were you looking to how were you looking to make a different design? Because definitely the handle seems more neutral. What was your
I'm
mind?
just gonna. It's mainly learning from as my taste is growing as someone that makes knives and likes knives, and also getting customer feedback. Where they're going, this would be cool. Or like, hey, can we switch the handles out? Oh, I'm like, well, no, I didn't make it like that. I married the handles to the tang, and then I'm hand shaping them all, so no two handles are the same. Like everything's just two one off. So that's when I say make something that's more interchangeable. There's just very clean up on the actual spine of the knife, so I'm not changing the shape. So like your picture framing is always relatively even around the whole entire handle. So yeah, I just kind of just evolution of me is growing as a maker and a designer, if you will.
How much of your CAD/CAM skills had to grow between the first and the second? Because if the handle is totally unique on the pike and it's hafted on, but you want to make things interchangeable, it seems like a big growth spurt there.
Uh, basically day and night. In the beginning, I had no idea what I've been doing, but I try to be a healthy mix of computer nerd and be able to make it with my hands is where I want to be at. So I want to know how to do both the best I can. It's also super convenient to just be able to hop on my computer for an hour or two right here and just be like, all right, I'm just gonna work on some design work. I have tons of designs that will probably never see the light of day. They're just kind of fun practices for me. Or if whenever someone needs help with design work, I'm always happy to help them out just because it's just more practice to get better and better.
I mean, that's exciting. I mean, that's where you want to be. You want to have more designs than you could ever
Yeah.
possibly make than the other way around. I mean,
Yeah.
obviously, I'm flat out of ideas. You don't want that.
No.
So, speaking as a guy who's made 10 to 15 knives just noodling around in my shed over an expansive time, I can't say I learned too much because wasn't a concentrated enough amount of time. But what I did learn is that if you're doing everything completely by hand, it's incredibly hard to make something the same every time, especially if you want to be making handles that you can swap out, you know, uh, yeah, you sell the knife and then you sell 5 different handle scales sets. They're all going to be different unless you have it really, really locked in. I mean, is that right?
Well, yeah, that's where I use my CNC router. So I'm basically machining my own G10 handles. And then my tie sets are coming from my machinist, Chris Barclay, who's in Spokane, Washington. So luckily, through the aid of machining, my G10 is pretty much exactly the same every time. And then same with my tie handles, they're always the same.
So is this is your full-time gig?
Full time. I've been full time for a little over a year now.
Okay, so what does a day in the life look like for you?
Usually up at 4. I'm at the gym by 5. Um, Back home, take care of the pups, and usually in the shop by 7:38. And then usually in the shop till about 4-ish. And whatever's gonna happen in the shop that day is, I don't know, it kind of depends on what show is coming up or what drops I want to do. So I was just doing Blade Show. So I just spent the last 2 months prepping for Blade Show. And then before that, I had the Lehigh show. So I spent about a month prepping for the Lehigh show. All while trying to pepper in drops here and there for, all my online customers and people that can't make it to Blade Show or the Lehigh show. Um, so it's literally a crapshoot. It's kind of how I'm feeling. It's the perks. It's the gift and the curse of working for yourself. I get to choose what I want to do, and sometimes I don't know what to do.
Is that the curse part? Not
Oh,
knowing
that's the curse. That's the curse. Yeah, no one telling me what to do. I can do what I want, but I also have no one telling me what to do. Like, that's the gift and the curse.
how much is your online customer base your boss in terms of knowing what you need to be doing aside from the show prep? I mean, that's a huge thing, but
Oh no, that's a great question. I never actually thought about that. I'd probably say 60%, and then 40 shows. Because
because
it's just six.
it seems like you're never going to know what you're going to get at a show. But if you have a consistent, customer base online,
Yeah, and I planned, like, say, especially for this show, the finishes I planned for some of my keystones and stuff, they were hot last year. They were not hot this year. So you can't plan. It always feels like whatever whatever I'm most stoked about that I've made for a show never sells, and everything that I'm like, I don't like it, always sells first. So I'll never get it right, and I'm okay with that.
that's interesting. I mean, that I don't somehow weirdly that's kind of intuitive. It makes sense intuitively,
Yeah,
kind
yeah,
of, because the stuff you're not sure about is probably stuff that's newish. You're not as comfortable with,
yeah.
and
Or it's just a finish that I'm like, this isn't my favorite finish. It's never that it's subpar. It's just I'm like, oh no, this is the finish I like. Blade show. I had a blacked out Windsor. It was just I did all the Cerakote. Everything was blacked out. The action was buttery smooth. It was just like the perfect knife, and everyone's like, I love this knife. It never left the table, and I brought it home with me.
all right, wait. We haven't talked about the Windsor. Let's talk
No,
about
no, the Windsor is my first folder.
yes,
So
this one.
all titanium, Magna Cut blade. And this is it. This is the second iteration. So this is the first V2 that I just made for myself.
That is beautiful.
So I've been working on these for a little over a year. I released them at Nick's last Nick's show. When was that? Easter is in April last year. April last year is when these first
The
came out.
New York Custom Knife Show.
Yep, near custom. But yeah, so that's tie with my radial pattern. That's Typhon 200. So it's a gray anodize on there with the stonewash blade. I just moved to a fully machined clip. So this is my personal one. She's a bit boogered up right now. But yeah,
Oh, that is beautiful. Take us through the specs. How big is that blade? How big is it overall?
oh, you're asking me questions I haven't thought of ever since I made it. Overall, I think we're somewhere at like 6 3/4. I think for cutting area, I think I'm just under 3 on this. And you'll have to forgive me. I don't have my specs memorized because once I make it on the computer, They're all on the website. So if anyone wants to go, oegedc.com. All the specs are on there. I apologize. I'm not a better businessman and I don't know all
No,
the
no, no,
specs.
no. I was thinking, just looking at it, it's about 3.1, 3.2 inches, and it's really beautiful. It looks a lot like a shark to me. I mean, I guess a lot
Yeah.
of knives do, but it really
It's
has.
so hard to make a knife that doesn't look like a knife. It's so hard.
Okay, hold this up for a minute so we can talk about it. Just hold
Oh,
it up, we can view it. And so I want to, like, tell me about what it's like making the transition from designing and having concerns for a fixed blade, and then going into this totally, almost completely different realm with a folder.
I mean, it's absolutely day and night. Like I said, I've been working on this one for a year now. And then before that, it was probably a good year of like R&D in the background and just, uh, paying for one-off prototypes. Um, I got most of the geometry right. I had some D10 issues, so I had to play at the D10 hole and move that all around. Geometry was pretty decent on the flipper right away, so I didn't have to make too many moves on that. Other than that, I've been fortunate. It's just been little touches here and there. Like the V2, only thing I'm doing different is I went with a 1 mil bearing, skiff bearing now, and I'm running it on washers, so I can washer and bearing, so
Oh,
a thrust washer then bearing, so I can run different show sides. So I can do a fat carbon. I have a few in Ultim I've already done, and like G10, so I can do different show sides now.
okay. I'm afraid I don't exactly understand. Can you break that down a little bit? What do you mean? Washers on one side and bearings
No,
on the
so it's a
other?
thrust. So it goes washer, bearing, then blade. So
Washer.
the bearing's not riding on
It's
like on a composite. So there's a metal washer bearing then the blade.
okay.
So the first model, which some people is weird because some people say it's okay because I was doing titanium bearing then the blade with no issues. But then I wanted to try and do some more different options for show sides just to spice it up a little bit. And so now there's a washer bearing then the blade
I
with
got
the
you.
handle sandwiching that.
Because presumably the bearings will wear a rate,
So, the ceramic bearing is going to wear through softer titanium. Yes.
and whatever the composite is too, it'll do the same thing there, I guess, right?
Exactly, in a quicker fashion. My first one, I mean, I've talked to tons of makers that have had knives for years with no issues, but it's one of those things, better be safe than sorry, and just switch it up a little bit and give myself more options to run different show sides now.
And saying thrust bearings just sounds extra cool.
It does. That's what they're listed on Alpha's website as. I had to say it.
Okay, so this is your first folder model.
Yes.
Now, this might sound obvious, but what obviously you wanted to make a folding knife, but what were your goals with this? If you're already making fixed blade EDCs, which are super hot right now, and they're falling in a envelope that fit in your pocket, or fit around your neck, what about the folder? What were you going for?
Selfish reasons, I wanted to carry my own folder. Um, just basically after carrying all kinds of different stuff, I was a Spyderco man for a long time. I just wanted something that was a bit smaller. I want something that you'd forget about in your pocket. So this is, I know, here's the spec. I know this is 3.2 ounces. So it's
Oh,
really light and I think it's like point, it's under a half inch wide. So it's definitely, you don't feel it in your pocket. So you don't know it's in there. So I like that. I don't like clunky pockets. Um, I don't know. I just don't like a bunch of stuff. I know I'm an EDC guy. I don't like a bunch of stuff in my pockets. I work around tools every day, so I don't need 50,000 tools. I have my knife on me, and I have one of my pry bars on my keychain, and that can get me through the day, along with every tool I have at my house and in my shop.
so you said Magna Cut on this one, right?
Yes, sir.
So how did you choose Magna Cut?
I hate to say it, but everyone else is doing it. It seems to be. I mean, it's the super seal from now. We don't know what's going to be in the future for Magnum Cut with everything going on right now. Was it going to be Magnum Max starting soon?
Yeah, yeah.
So Magnum Max, and then it is going to be made in China, correct?
Oh, that I don't know actually, but that
Okay, I
seems to
didn't.
make
I've heard rumors. Then never mind. I didn't say that.
sense. It seems to make sense given the what the steel companies here are going through, especially CPM or
Yeah, Crucible,
Crucible. Yeah.
Crucible. So yeah. Um, I mean, it is good. I mean, it's for ed retention. It's just weird. Everyone, if you do it at 64, people like it at 62. If you do it at 63, someone look this up here. It's I've seen what's best for you. It's whatever's best for you. Run that knife at whatever HRC you like. It's hard. You can't please everyone. I run mine at 62, 63 because when I first started doing them, that was the hot spot was like 62 and a half. And
Yeah.
then everyone I talked to at Blade Show said it has to be 64 now. But it's going to give you better edge retention. But then there's the what you call the weakness then when it gets higher in the HRC. So like
Oh.
it's so hard. The whole knife steel nerd industry is a whole different level that I try to pay attention to, and I can't throw my hat in that ring. I can't keep up with it.
I think it's a moving target with that
So well
particular.
said.
Yeah. Uh, so let me ask you this: with the making of the folder, how does that work? Is it all CAD work? You send it out, it comes back to you assembled, or do you get the parts and make it from there? Or
I get the parts. I get the parts and make it. So my machinist in Spokane does all my tie work, and then my guy does my fixed blade blanks, cuts my blanks out, and does that heat treat. And then I grind my bevels, set the lock, set the detent, assemble it all, and then do all the finish work, and then put the edge on it.
I mean,
Obviously.
to me, as a non-knife maker, that sounds like the best of all worlds. Like, you don't have to do the kind of tedious part of cutting everything out, and you also don't have to suffer the expendables. Like your cutting blades and that kind of thing. You don't have to pay for that. Obviously, you're paying for it in a different way, but you kind of get to put the whole thing together.
Yeah.
Is that a fun kind of process?
Yes and no. I It's enjoyable, but I felt like there was almost like an imposter syndrome. So then later at the end of last year, I got my own heat treat oven, and then I've been slowly making like one-off hand cut heat treated by me full customs. So it's fun, but I always feel like I have to take it to the next level.
Wait. What do you mean by imposter syndrome?
I just feel like I wasn't a full knife maker just because I'm a stock removal guy because I'm just removing stock from blanks that are cut. So and like me, another ADHD quest, I wanted to be like, well, I want to learn how to do heat treat, so I got an oven, and then I just started cutting out steel, doing my own heat treat. I made one custom slip joint so far for my buddy, and I made a few little fixed blades.
Oh, that's cool. That's admirable because, in my opinion, and I know that's what imposter syndrome is all about. It's a mind trick for people who don't believe they, and if you don't mind my saying, people who don't believe they deserve what they've actually achieved.
100%.
But that's admirable that you're fighting against that by
Oh, yeah.
actually investigating a different way of doing it, and maybe but some of our most admired makers do it the way you do it.
Oh, yeah. I think
Less.
it's a me problem. I'm not saying there's not a wrong. That's not the right way or wrong way to do it. It's just me wanting to learn more about the craft and feel like I'm actually a part of the industry a little bit more would make more sense. But there is still imposters, and I'm waiting. I'm so green. I've only been making knife for 3 years. Someone's gonna figure out I don't know what I'm doing eventually.
Yeah, but it will be a customer, and it seems like your customers so far are pretty damn happy. What do you hear from these people, and who is your customer?
Um, if you have, I don't know, anyone that has the same size hand and he loves my knives. So most of my customers have the same hand size. Everyone loves how it feels. I'm like, well, you just got the same hand. I basically model everything off of my hand, so they all have the same hand size as me. Usually beer. No, um, yeah, just I don't know my customers, just the average dudes. I mean, no celebrities, so I can't tell you any good celebrity stories.
Well, what I mean is, are they finding you on Instagram and just kind of buying your stuff, or are they, hunters, or are they urban dudes, or like who do you think is collecting your stuff?
I'm not really a hunter guy. It's more like more urban based. I feel kind of like urban, kind of like not hype beast. 'Cause I'm not in that hype beast level. Um, Kind of like more like artsy urban would be my thing. I don't know. That sounds so weird to say it. That's another good question, Bob. You caught me
Yeah,
off guard. You caught me off guard on that one. I never thought about that.
artsy urban. You're like the most sophisticated people you run into. Yeah, they're the guys who are collecting my stuff.
Yeah, well, I just sold a knife to a Delta pilot at Blade Show.
That's pretty cool.
It was so well. I'm definitely afraid of flying, and I told him that, and he's like, "Yeah, I'm a Delta pilot." I'm like, I geeked out 'cause I'm an airplane nerd too, so it's horribly funny. So yeah, like I said, like yeah, it's a really eclectic group of people. So I'm very happy that they like what I do, and I appreciate it.
Wait, did you just say you're an airplane nerd?
Yeah. I grew up loving airplanes, yet I hate flying.
Like fighter jets?
So I had a book. I had a book from my godmother's like this thing. It was nothing but military.
What's your favorite plane?
Ooh, A-10 Warthog's been pretty good for most of my life. So
A lot of
that's a
titanium in that plane.
that's a good same with the SR-71. The skin was mainly all titanium.
Yeah.
The fuselage would leak when I was on the runway because the pound. See, look, you just got me going. All right,
Yeah.
we gotta stop. We'll have a whole airplane nerd podcast.
Yeah, my dad was in the Air Force, and so me and my dad and my brother have always nerded out over airplanes, and SR-71 has always been my dad's favorite plane, and I never heard of titanium until the 80s. And he was talking about the SR-71, and he had gotten a new watch that was made of titanium, and he's like, this is the same material in the SR-71, and that thing leaks until it reaches atmospheric level. And
Yeah, it's certain expansion, and it actually will stop leaking, which that's great design, I guess.
I love that. I think that's cool, and I think you can kind of see that in your flipper. Pull it out again if you don't mind. I said it looked like a shark, but it also definitely has a sort of that sort of sleek vibe of an airplane.
Yeah, I could totally see that, and maybe that's subconsciously been something I've based all my designs off of, but I didn't realize it till now. So thank you, Bob.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
So yeah, we can have a whole different podcast about airplanes. I got some good stories for you about that.
Yeah. Okay, I'll stop right there. Except I will say, love the F-22, but still the F-15. Nothing beats the F-15.
No, nothing beats a that's not a Tomcat. F-14 was a Tomcat.
The Eagle.
The Eagle, yes, that was the fixed wing. F-14, the wings moved. F-15, the wings were fixed.
Yeah.
Right? Am I doing good?
Oh yeah.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
I also have a really good customer. Shout out to Alan Cruz. He was a C-17 mechanic, so he sent me one of his jumpsuits.
No way.
So yeah, so he worked on the Globemaster, and I have plate suit with the patches. So thanks, Alan.
Oh, that's cool. So, who were the first people who started buying your knives? Was it the people who were buying your, who were already on board for your Keystone and your pry bar and that kind of thing, or
Yeah.
EDC stuff?
No. Well, yeah, because I debuted my first fixed blade at Nick's, my first Nick's in 2022. Or no, 2021. It was September of 2021. So I was lucky that like it was mainly internet customers and Nick's customers. I was also very fortunate to do the Lehigh Valley Knife Show, which I've done religiously. That I've made lots of customers and be able to sell a bunch of knives at that show as well.
That's a big show, the Lehigh Valley show.
It's only getting better. I love that show. It was my very first show, and I think I've been doing it forever. So I've been doing it since 2021 now, and would never. I lied. I missed one of them because Blade Show was close, but I go to that show whenever I can.
So how important are knife shows? And I'm not just talking about Blade Show. That's the big show. But in terms of Lehigh, that is also a very large one. But New York Custom Knife Show, regional shows, how important are they for new makers?
I think they're huge because it's just good exposure. It's great to be able to make it like-minded people and other makers just to kind of bounce ideas. There's not too many gatekeepers in this industry. Everyone's pretty open. Um, I remember at Blade Show this year, I was sitting at breakfast with the wife, and there was a table of like very famous makers behind me, and they're talking about screwing up mammoth handles and pivots being wrong and undersized this. I'm like, all right, I'm not the only one. So it's good to get to those shows where you can kind of talk to people and see like, okay, I'm not the only one that struggles with this, or this is how I can do this better. So I think it's really important, and just getting out there and meeting new people and customers helps a ton.
I mean, you to me personally were a model knife maker in terms of how you engaged at Blade Show. I mean, I know you and I had a personal introduction through a friend of yours and a friend of mine, but like, what would you say is the way to go about it? You see a lot of new makers. Some are great. Some go about it in a great way. Others maybe need some pointers. What would those pointers be?
Uh, just I mean, easiest way would be to keep your mouth shut and your ears open. That's one of the good things, just kind of just absorb it, take it all, and just be a fly on the wall. And when you see your shot to enter the conversation, take that shot and kind of just go in there. I mean, that's kind of like asking me how to make friends. I have no idea. I just have a bunch of weirdos that I get along with. So it's kind of the same thing with knife making. It's not too hard to get along. Just introduce yourself and talk about knives. It's that easy.
Yeah, well, I mean, to me, you were very like Aaron brought me over. You're like, hey, you were like very warm and talkative, and you had this really cool setup, which is unique. And you told me that your strategy is every year to update that and make it unique and memorable. And that pizza shop theme was totally memorable and hit me hard as an Italian. Yeah.
I want to go on record right now. How many people do you think are going to have a theme next year?
Well, we'll see.
I was thinking about that because I had double the traffic last year because of the booth, and everyone loved it. So I'm going on record, Bob. You and I were going to talk next year. We're going to see how many people have a theme.
All right. All right. We'll count. We'll do a little
All right,
unofficial count.
all right.
Um, but even minus the theme, the way you engaged is important because, especially, I mean, it's especially it's important anywhere, whether you have a smaller table or a bigger booth. But if you have a big booth and you're not like out in the open, you may as I don't know. I just feel like that is something a lot of creator types have to get over a sort of you know instinct to stay in the background and I just like doing my stuff and you really have to reach out.
It's a weird mix because I'm horrible at social media and like I'm trying to be more active on social media and kind of be like I said earlier, like try to be a real person a little bit more. I'm a super introverted extrovert. I love talking to people. I love people with the same interests. I can get along with people super easily. But my social battery runs out pretty quick, and most nights I'm watching the Phillies game with my wife and two dogs on the couch. So, like I said, it's fun, and like I said, I have years of experience from being a bartender before I did everything else. I bartended for years. I can pretty much talk to anyone, but literally, I spent entire last week, I did nothing. I went to the shop and I would just like move something and then wipe underneath of it. Like I was gone. So it comes at a toll.
Well, that's totally understandable. You had just gotten over 72 hours of selling yourself and your brand and being present. I mean, that makes sense. I keep seeing a red knife in your hand. What's that all about?
This is my bike knife. So I did two. So that's a good thing about shows is just the inspiration when the creative juices are flowing. So I did do nothing, but I designed a folder last week, and last week I also designed this. So I'm working on just like a skeletonized knife, and I'm gonna call it my bike knife because I've been doing a lot of bike riding. So I'm gonna design a very minimalist bike for my knife for my bike. So this is just I've been playing with the prototype. I always make, I'll do my CAD and I'll export it to my 3D printer. So I'll do a 3D print and I'll carry it around for a while. So
Cool.
you've noticed correctly, I've just been fidgeting and playing with it and seeing if there's any hot spots, seeing if it feels good like with four fingers, and I play with my toys.
It's funny you call that a bike knife because, as I mentioned earlier, I have a good friend in Cleveland who sells bikes, got a very unique shop. And at one point, I was like, I'm going to design you a knife that you can sell at your shop, and it's going to have in the handle, it'll have a little, wrench or whatever. I don't know. I don't know bikes that well, but I had an idea for a bike knife that I never really actually developed. But I used the expression, so it's cool to see and hear of someone who's actually doing it. Do you mind holding that up so we can take a
Yeah,
look?
I don't carry I don't have much storage on my bike, so I can't fit a knife sometimes on my bike. So I'm working on a fixture that this is going to mount to like the water bottle mount. And
Oh,
then I figure I'll have a decent amount of retention in the holes here with the G10, so I don't have to worry with the Kydex, excuse me. So I don't have to worry about if there is an accident, the knife coming loose. I think I'll be able to get really solid retention on that. And I figured if I make like basically a little aluminum bracket that follows the curvature of the tube, I can mount the Kydex through the eyelets to the mount to the bracket underneath the water bottle.
and I love No, go ahead. Sorry.
In my mind, that's how it's going to work. And then like the rear hole is perfectly sized for paracord, and you can do paracord wraps. So if you're on the trail and there's emergency, you'll have paracord on you as well. So
Yeah.
this is really new. This might never come, or it might happen next week. We'll find out.
God, I love the blade shape of that and the skeletonization. I know the little I do know about bikes. You're always trying to keep it as light as possible. So you're doing that. You've got a beautiful blade, looks extremely useful. Also, you've got a guard just in that the blade is wider than the handle itself.
Yep.
So that looks. I think that's a great idea, and a lot
I
of
think
people cycling.
I think it'd be great for protection or for just roadside repairs if anything happens. It's like it's always great to have a knife on you.
Yeah. Yeah, no doubt about that. So, couple of years doing this, doing knives, 3 years doing knives, about 6 years owning an EDC company, and a couple of years full time. What kind of lessons have you learned in terms of business?
Ooh, I wish I had a good answer for this. I'm the worst at business. Luckily, I have my wife, so she's helping me with the books and doing all that. And I say I don't have anyone. I don't have a boss, but she definitely helps keep me in line when she can tell when the ADHD is kicking in. I need to be like corralled this way. Like, okay, let's do this now. So I um, definitely have help from my wife for sure. But basically, in business, kind of just follow the golden rule. I try to treat everyone how I like to be treated. I try to ship fast and accordingly. If you have an issue with a knife, I try to take care of it right away. And yeah, just kind of treat others how you want to be treated. Is my business advice.
That's good advice for just people in general. Meeting new people, whatever it is.
Mhm.
Um, Also, something I was going to ask you before that I forgot to ask is how do you like um, how do you sell your knives? Like, is it and then how do you make them? Do you make them in batches? How does that work?
All online drops. So basically, I have a newsletter that goes out usually Wednesday before drops, and I'll make an announcement. Also with Instagram, I'll just announce Monday, and so what the drop is. And yeah, I'll just do them in batches. So I'll just do like, oh, I'll do a batch of stonewash with this handle or that handle, and then just do that, batch it all out, and then post up on the newsletter and social media that the drop's coming, and then have a drop always on Friday at 7:45. Oh,
I saw that, and I'll ask you this as you pick up your earbud, and about how many knives do you do at one time?
uh, not much. Since I'm a one man army, it's usually like 5 to 15.
Okay.
Yeah, so I keep my drops very small. When it comes to like the smaller like keystones and stuff like that, I can do like 40, 50, 60 pieces in a drop. That's not an issue. But for knives, since they're hand ground, um, oh, that's the other thing. This knife, I'm looking at this knife to be fully machined bevels. So
Oh, okay.
this will be a product where I just finish it, make the sheaths, and be able to get more out there to public, and maybe like bike shops where I have a laser at my shop, so I could be doing maybe bike shops custom logos for the shops engraved on them. So I'm trying to think of the future, and you can only make so much with your hands. So I'm starting to see like I'm reaching the ceiling where I can only get so much done. Folders take a lot of time, grinding bevels take a lot of time. So this would be a knife that I could kind of have America produced in America and be able to sell larger volumes of.
I love that idea too because there are a lot of small bike shops out there, and you could,
Tons.
customize it with your laser to their.
Yep.
Oh, that's a really cool idea. Maybe, maybe at some point I connect you with my friend, and maybe you guys could be that could be a what do you call it? What's a test bed kind of thing?
I
Um,
love that, and I guarantee you, him and I have a connection to someone in this industry since I did some bike work back before that I did this. I would do some custom painting on bikes. So I guarantee you, we're gonna have like, the 7 degrees of separation of Kevin Bacon. I'm sure we know someone in the industry.
no doubt. And funny thing is, the first time this was in the early not this was like 1993, 4, or 5. I remember I was big into biking until I got in a nasty accident, and then I sort of wimped out and shied away. But there was
I
a
got one
bike.
of those.
Yeah.
Yeah, collarbone.
Oh, nice.
There it is. One
Oh,
plate and 6 screws.
perfect front teeth. That's from the. There was a bike shop in Philly because that's where I lived at the time, and I remember thinking these guys. They were probably like 5 years older than I am. I'm like, these guys are so cool, and they know bikes, and they're like. And then this one guy had a Spyderco police model, all stainless steel with the serrations, and he pulled it out to do something, and I was like, "What is that?" Like,
Yeah.
I need that. So anyway, I think that sort of gear-oriented culture. I love the crossovers.
Well, not even just for backpacking or hiking, this would be great. It's just something simple. No parts are going to break. You don't got to worry about hardware falling out, anything like that. If I do magnet cut, there's good corrosion resistance, so something like that. Like, just easy. It's like your knife. You just always have it on you, and then hopefully keep it at a decent price point, just so it's not breaking the bank and keeping it affordable. Because we all know 3 bags of groceries cost $300 right now.
Yeah. Okay, so I know that this knife is kind of in the offing, and it's something you're working on. But just so I can know you as a maker, we can know you as a maker. Like, what is the most aspirational knife you could think of? Sword, Bowie knife, scalpel, whatever it is. What is something that you haven't made yet? What is this?
So I've been working on hidden tang with wall. So this is a petty that I made. So my goal is to do some culinary hidden tang with wall handles. So this is just a petty I've been running for about 4 months now. So this is the first one. No, second. This is the second one I made.
I don't know the term, petty. What is that?
Petty knife is just a small chef's knife. So it's a small, basically do everything in the kitchen knife. So this is just your basic knife in for a chef in the kitchen. So I definitely want to work on some of that stuff.
Wait. Could you hold that up just to the camera for a minute so we can take a look at that? That is beautiful. It's got what looks to be like sort of a Japanese octagonal handle in a way. Hidden tang, this is sort of like, this for people listening, it's like a paring knife. It looks like maybe a little longer.
Yeah, a little bit longer than a paring knife, yep.
Oh, man, this is beautiful.
And then the ferrule's G10. So that was experimenting with doing G10 for the ferrule. So then this is hand cut and heat treated by me as well.
Okay.
So this is one of those adventurous side quests I've been wanting to take myself down.
Oh my God, that's beautiful, man.
Thank you very much, Bob.
Oh, you're welcome. And we have a fondness in this house for. We have a couple of custom kitchen knives, 3 that have pushed everything to the side. Everything, and we still have this big butcher block full of knives that we never touch. It's because hand ground, like.
They have soul. The knife actually has soul, so I think that's the fun part about that, especially in the kitchen. Because when you're cooking for people you love.
Yeah.
So it
And
makes total sense.
they cook better too. They cut better too. They're not axe wedges. They're very slender.
That one has done some damage to some tomatoes. It's got some real nice thin slices, so I'm happy with how that's going.
Man, that's awesome. Well, I'm really excited to hear that, because that's a pretty broad range you have. You've already got a folder out. You've got 2 sort of EDC fixed blades. You've got a bike knife coming, and then you've got this handmade one-off kitchen knife that you want to reproduce. I love it. As you continue with the knives, do you think you will keep up with the keystones and the pry bars and other things like that, or will it all go to knives?
I see them kind of like, I noticed to compare myself, it's kind of like almost like a Lucas Burnley style where he drops the side pops every now and then. So I could see it doing where it's like something where maybe there's a quarterly drop of them, and not that I don't take a back burner, because I'll never turn my back on them, because that's how I started. But I definitely want to be focused more on knife making and this craft, and learning more about this, and then having these products to drop here and there, if you will. But no, I'm never gonna shy away from it. But knife making is definitely where I want to be, and then these are the products I'm gonna do here and there.
Well, I don't mean to be presumptuous, but I think I speak for a lot of people in the audience. I think we're all psyched about that. I love what you've done so far, and man, the future looks promising for you. And I also like just how varied your offerings are, and I love that too.
Thank you, Bob. Thank you very much. I appreciate that.
My pleasure. Eddie of OEG EDC, thank you so much for joining me on the Knife Junkie podcast, sir. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Thank you for having me. I'm honored to be on here, and let me know when you come up. We'll cook something.
Sounds good. All right, man. Talk to you soon.
Bye.
The Shockwave Tactical Torch is your ultimate self-defense companion, featuring a powerful LED bulb that lasts 100,000 hours, a super sharp crenulated bezel, and a built-in stun gun delivering 4.5 million volts. Don't settle for ordinary. Choose the Shockwave Tactical Torch. TheKnifeJunkie.com/Shockwave.
There he goes, ladies and gentlemen. Eddie of OEG EDC. Real pleasure talking with him, and it was awesome meeting him and seeing his setup at Blade. Not only that, I guess I didn't mention this too much, but I pawed over his stuff quite a bit, and it is super beautiful, high quality stuff. So I can't wait to see what comes from him next. All right, for Jim working his magic behind the switcher, I'm Bob DeMarco saying until next time, don't take dull for an answer.
Thanks for listening to the Knife Junkie podcast. If you enjoyed the show, please rate and review at reviewthepodcast.com. For show notes for today's episode, additional resources, and to listen to past episodes, visit our website, TheKnifeJunkie.com. You can also watch our latest videos on YouTube at TheKnifeJunkie.com/YouTube.